Hello, in this video I will be making the most English of dishes I could possibly think of. Roast beef with Yorkshire pudding. In a couple of days time it's St George's Day. That's why I'm doing this most English of dishes. And St George was a pretty brave guy as well. He willingly was executed because he refused to renounce his Christianity. He was a Roman soldier, I believe, in what would now be Turkey. And he refused to worship pagan gods, and they killed him for it. So we, in England, we thought that was a very brave thing to do. The whole slaying the dragon is just a silly little myth. It's a silly story, fairy tale. But the real St George was far braver than facing a mythical beast, because he faced certain death, and he chose certain death over his faith, and that's quite incredible. Anyway, for those of you that you want to celebrate St George's Day, happy St George's Day. I'll be one of them because I'm a very proud Englishman. And for those of you that tuned in because you want to see how to make roast beef or Yorkshire pudding, I'm going to get on with it now, I promise. And you're going to really like this one.
All right, all the recipes will be in the description below. What I'm doing here is making the Yorkshire pudding batter, and this is the equals by volume method. So you pick a measuring jug or a cup or something, and whatever amount of egg you've got, that's the amount of flour you want, and that's the amount of milk you want. Now that is a foolproof method, but as I've also put the weights in the description in the recipe. Combine the flour and the eggs, get that nice and smooth. Then goes the milk, and get that again completely homogeneous. And then we're going to pass that through a sieve into a jug, which is going to go in the fridge for at least several hours. And by all means, do this the day before, the night before, and leave that in the fridge overnight. That will only make it better. And I'm filming this, it's not completely in sequence. I'm trying to show you that you can get those Yorkshire puddings done before you're going to be able to get your roast potatoes done before, things like that. This was the beef straight out of the fridge, lots and lots of salt, and I'm going to leave that for at least an hour just to sort of come up to room temperature. Okay, so that's to the side. That is lard I'm using. I love lard. I melted it down, obviously, so I could pour it into my Yorkshire pudding trays, and they're about a third of the way up with the lard, and that went into a hot oven to get hot. Just showing you the size of the potatoes that I prepared before. And then this could be done in the morning. You could do all this before you even start doing the beef. You could do this before you cook your roast potato, your Yorkshire puddings. That's a bit of bicarb of soda into there. That helps to give them that extra fluffiness, which you will see in a bit. So now the lard is bubblingly hot. We pour in the batter, and I'm going to around about halfway up. I could go a bit higher. I could go about 2/3. You'll get bigger Yorkshire puddings. You run the risk of them getting so big that they kind of stick to each other and grow into each other. So anyway, that was pure luck that I managed to fill every of the well. And that is a sped up clip of them rising in the oven. Didn't that look nice? And they look lovely. And this is the point. They had half an hour. Give them half an hour at least, and make sure they're crisp on the side. Otherwise, if they're too soft on the side, you'll take them out because they've risen, and then they'll sink, and they'll go flat, and you'll feel sad. So don't blame me if that happens. Cook them for half an hour. This is some vegetables I'm using for a trivet. That's just so the beef doesn't fry on the pan. That goes in the oven now. Now, the potatoes, again, which you could have done this a bit earlier, there's 15 minutes or so simmering away. You can see that it's sort of a bit fluffy on the outside. That is what we want now. Strain them. Let that steam dry for like 5 minutes or so before you do this. Put them into a pan and really toss them around. You can see now that's where this would work without bicarbonate of soda, but that bicarb helps. Look at that extra fluffiness. You just know that fluffiness equals crunchiness in your gob, and you will say, thank you, Uncle Matt. That was lard in the tray that I'm using for roasting my potatoes, and some extra butter to make it better, of course. So scatter your potatoes there, and any of those little bits, those are the bits that everyone is going to fight over. But you're going to get that yourself because you're the cook, right? You deserve first dibs. So they're into the hot oven as well, and they've had around about 20 minutes, and you can see now they're nice. So to try to save you time later, you could cook your potatoes to this point and then you could just put those back in the oven later when you know everything else is ready. That's why I'm trying to save you the headache here of getting all stressed about everything being at the last minute. And there's that crunchy bit there. That is your privilege. I'm also having some roasted root vegetables, but again, this is just to show you what I did, just very, very quickly. Parsnips, carrots, salt, lard, oven, bosh. They look nice, don't they? That's probably about 15-20 minutes to get them like that. Oh, lovely. I'm going to put those in a dish as well. So we're going to do this sort of family service technique here, method, to save you a bit of stress. So the beef, that's had around about half an hour. There's the internal temperature. That is going to give you a nice sort of medium rare to medium, which I think is about what will please most people. And I put those the equivalent in Fahrenheit there for you Yanks across the pond. So let that beef just rest now. Bit of tin foil to stop it going cold, but don't worry about it being hot when you serve it. We're going to serve it on a hot plate with hot gravy and everything, so you don't have to worry about the meat being hot. So those vegetables we use as a trivet now are going to make this sensational gravy. So they go over the heat. If you've used a different type of tray that you can't put on the gas, just put this into a saucepan. A bit of flour went in, a bit of butter went in. There's some red wine. Not essential, the red wine. You could use beer. You don't have to use wine, alcohol at all. Just stir that around for a little while. Now I'm going in with chicken stock. Obviously, I make my own, but you could use a decent stock. Measurements aren't exact here. I've just now added water just to wash out the jug as well. Just make sure you've got plenty of liquid in there. That is Bovril. That stuff is amazing. If you can't get hold of that, I feel bad for you, because that is like the ultra beefiness, super beefy paste. It's amazing. So just give that a stir in as well. Let that simmer away for long enough until the flour has cooked out. It doesn't taste floury. I'll put some herbs in there from my garden. You don't have to, but I've got them, so I use them. And as that's simmering away, that is after about 20-25 minutes of resting, and those juices will make that even better. You know that we're going to fall out if you don't use those. And then we're going to strain this. I've got a conical strainer, which is quite tough. It can take a bit of pressure. They're pretty handy, and they're not that expensive if you want to get one. And also the electronic thermometer as well. Those are pretty cheap as well. And there you can see now that meat has carried on cooking, because the energy from the heat carried on penetrating to the middle. So that now, people will argue, for me that is a gorgeous medium, maybe medium rare, somewhere between that, which I think is absolutely perfect. For those that don't like it that well cooked, you can always give them the end bits, or you can always chuck a bit under the grill. So here we go. We're going to plate up a bit now. Not too much on the plate. That's why we've got the vegetables in side dishes. So there goes some beef. That looks nice. Going to put a Yorkshire pudding on there now. Just get it in the right position. And this is what you must do now. You've got to pour the gravy inside the Yorkshire. Yeah. And let it cascade over there. And I'm getting all emotional. Oh, it's so good. And I'm going to put a couple of roast potatoes on the plate as well. But that's just for the video. Bit of vino. That looks nice, if you like that sort of thing. And over to me for the tasting.
So there's your roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. It is a lot to do. But hopefully I showed you a way that you can prepare certain things in advance, even cook them 2/3 of the way already, so you just sort of finish things off at the last minute. It's still always going to be a bit of a rush job at the last minute. I do recommend save yourselves a little bit of headache by putting your vegetables and stuff in dishes and let your family help themselves on the table. I think it's a far nicer way of doing things anyway. But how does it taste? More importantly, so am I happy with the way it's cooked? As the French would say, the cuisson. Yes, I like that. I like it pink. I don't know whether that makes it medium rare or medium. I think it depends where you are in the world. Like the French would probably say it's well done, but they're weird. That beef is lovely. For a cheaper cut, it's lean. So if you really cook it past that, it starts to become a bit tough and a bit dry, not as nice, sort of crumbly almost. How's Yorkshire pudding? Now, for the last few weeks, no carbs have passed these lips, so this is a sacrifice I'm making for you. While we're at it, I might as well have a bit of potato as well. It's lovely. I'm going to get stuck into the rest of that in a minute, but I hope that simplifies making a roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, a traditional English dish. You couldn't get more English than roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, and I think we should celebrate being English with an Argentinian Malbec. Thank you very much for watching. You're going to like, you're going to subscribe, you're going to do all those things. Hopefully you'll be checking me out on Rumble as well, because, you know, that's the channel, that is the platform for people that believe in free speech. So anyway, however, wherever you're watching me, like the video, share it, subscribe, all of that stuff. I'll be most grateful to you, and I'll catch you again pretty soon. Bye. Yum.